Hey everyone, I'm Dragon Rider, Queen of Cards, and it is time to get into the last of our Druid reveals. The first one is a legendary that was revealed via an email from Play Hearthstone, and all of the other Druid cards in this video were revealed by Blister Guy. Always love Blister Guy's reveals. They are definitely worth watching, so make sure to check that reveal out with the link in the description. Now, let's jump into these cards. First is that legendary that I mentioned, which is Sky Mother Aviana. Now, this one, obviously a throwback to the original Aviana, but this one is a 6-mana 5/5, and it's legendary. Battlecry, shuffle 10 random legendary minions into your deck. They cost 1. All right, so this definitely has that kind of aspect of like randomness and RNG. Now, depending on the legendaries, this might not be great. This might just be kind of like a fun meme type of card. But them only costing 1 is actually pretty huge. And now even that little wind-up sapling that we saw in the first Druid reveal video that I already did, with tradable and it refreshes a mana crystal. Yeah, that potentially now refreshing a single mana crystal could give you a legendary that you can play that turn too. So pretty interesting. I don't know. I kind of doubt that something like this will end up in a competitive, like top meta deck, unless this is something that is needed to put in extra cards for like fatigue games or something like that. Some sort of like get rid of your deck and then you put these in your deck and now you're not hitting fatigue and you're getting these legendaries. Something like that is the kind of effect that I see here. But in terms of top meta decks that are really competitive, maybe in like this first expansion because there's going to be the least amount of cards. But I don't know. Usually these cards aren't typically used in those like higher competitive decks. Now getting into the cards that Blister Guy revealed. The first one here we have is Bottomless Toy Chest. This is a 2-mana arcane spell. Discover a card from your deck. If you have spell damage, copy it. Okay. That definitely seems really intriguing. I really enjoy Discover. I think Discover is awesome. Plus you're getting to discover not just something random, but something from your deck that you purposely put there. So even if you don't have spell damage and you don't get a copy, I still see this being a pretty useful card. And I think it could probably fit into a couple of different Druid decks. It's definitely something that if you get this as a choice from a Discover or, randomly generated or something, you'll probably be pretty happy with it. And if there is a deck that you put it in that is focused on spell damage, obviously it is going to be a huge support card there as well. And then we have a location, Magical Dollhouse. It is 1 mana and has 3 uses, 3 durability. It says gain spell damage +1 this turn only. This is kind of cool. We haven't really seen an effect like this with locations. The locations have been very like minion focused. So to have something like this that doesn't really necessarily interact with the board and kind of has a different type of synergy and creates a different archetype, I think is really cool. So it's not necessarily the strongest thing, not the like best card that we've ever seen with spell damage, especially because you can only use locations like every other turn. But this can still be really useful and you can save it or you can set up for a very big, powerful swing turn with spell damage because you'll know when this is going to be available to use, or because it's only 1 mana, you can likely fit it in a lot of turns when you want to play some of that spell damage stuff anyways. So I really like this. I think this is super awesome. And then we have another legendary here. We have Owlonius. This is a 7-mana 6/6. Spell damage +1. Your spells get double bonus from spell damage. Whew, okay. Well, that is pretty enticing, even just on its own. But if you have other spell damage, like maybe that location we just saw, or like other things that add spell damage on top of this, that damage can add up very, very quickly. And I feel like we have seen with things like Sith Mage and honestly even like the Arcane Hunter, when you start adding in those type of synergies and your spells get added spell damage, or they get larger and you get to start sending them either to minions or to face, and you can add that up a lot more quickly. Those cards and decks and archetypes actually do tend to do pretty well generally. So I actually think that there is something here, and I like this one as well. Plus, I'm actually kind of a big fan of taking Druid in this kind of different direction and giving a different style of Druid play with not necessarily just going in on huge minions and ramping. There's this kind of different strategy for Druid. And I also mained Boomkins in WoW when I played. So this kind of has like a special meaning for me. And I'm like, yeah, all right, let's go the Boomkin and like damage spell kind of direction. I like it. The next card is Woodland Wonders. It's a 5-mana common spell. Summon 2 1/5 beetles with taunt. Costs 3 less if you have spell damage. All right, so again, playing into that like spell damage thing. If you have spell damage, then this is only going to cost 2, and it's going to get you 2 of these 1/5 beetles with taunt. So not bad. That can potentially even help you protect some other minions or other stuff on the board that may have spell damage, to try to keep that spell damage stuff going over multiple turns. And it's just decent value. This probably isn't going to go into Druid decks outside of like spell damage focused Druid decks, but it's fine. And the last one we have is Sparkling Phial. This is a 3-mana arcane spell. Deal 2 damage. Your next card this turn costs that much less. Oh, okay. With the spell damage, this can get pretty nasty pretty quick. I mean, getting to play this, and even with spell damage +1, you can deal 3 damage, and you'll get that cost reduced on your next card for the same turn. And at 3, you're essentially getting to play this card for free. You play this, you spend the 3, but then you make up that 3 for the next card. So really sweet interactions. I actually think this is a pretty cool little package. There have been a lot of spells in Druid in the past, and new stuff coming back, even into core, like the swipe. So I definitely can see there being some sort of like spell damage or spell focused style Druid deck archetype coming in that, I mean, it might depend on the meta, but I feel like it can be at least a pretty decent option for standard and for ladder. Well, that is all of our Druid cards. I don't know. How do you feel about these? I'd love to hear your thoughts. And if you've been following along, thank you so much for checking all of these videos out. I really do appreciate everyone tuning in to watch these and hear my thoughts on all of these cards. I can't wait to actually get to play them and see how right or wrong we all are. But if you haven't already, please go ahead and check out my official reveal video where I revealed some neutral cards for this expansion. And of course, the entire playlist of all of my thoughts for every card that has been revealed for this set. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.